everybody. This is Claudia, and I'm here with Dee Gardner.
Hello.
And she is my psychotherapist friend. And we were here talking about how people aren't living to their highest potential. And one of the reasons why they don't do that is that they have experienced trauma. So we were talking about trauma. Mm-hmm. And I was asking Dee, can you tell me, what is trauma and how does that impact people?
Well, trauma is where a person experienced something from in their past, and then they have a recall, they remember it, and when they remember it, it may take over. Their heartbeat races, they have nightmares, they have flashbacks as if it goes right back to, they have something that may make them remember it, or they just remember it out of the blue. So it becomes very stressful, anxious, and sometimes it'll even control their day, their functioning.
And what are some, I know that we were talking about one of the places that you get trauma is if you interacted with a narcissist on long term. So there's narcissistic abuse survivors and victims and survivors. Can you tell me what that looks like? You know, what is the difference between regular abuse and narcissistic abuse?
Okay. Well, if a person is in a relationship with a narcissist, a person that is grandiose, that looks at themselves as superior, that person may, for example, interrupt a conversation. You're talking, and they may interrupt the conversation. They may change the topic. They may just hang up the phone. They may even just walk away.
Wow.
They will have a person that is a narcissistic abuse survivor may question their identity. They question who they are, what they want, what they like, what they don't like, what they want to do. So there's the big thing is that there's not a sense of an identity. So that means not having a voice, not having the boundaries, not speaking up, not taking care of yourself. Those are some examples.
Okay, wow. What are other symptoms that a narcissistic abuse survivor would have if so that they will know if that's their thing? Some
other symptoms might be the person have trouble in relationships, and they may isolate. They may get to where they start distancing themselves from friends, from family, from things that they like to do, from places that they like to go as well. So that's another example. Their role is to try to figure out, they spend a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to figure out how to communicate with the narcissist, how to get the other person to understand them, how to get them to see things from their point of view, and just how to keep the other person happy. And they live there, and they don't succeed with that either.
So there is that lack of sense of self, and then there's a sort of isolation because they're constantly focused on the narcissist and what's the narcissist doing next. And I guess that sounds like eggshells, walking on eggshells a lot. Okay. All right. And how common are narcissists and how common are narcissistic abuse victims?
It's pretty common. It's a lot more common than people think. There's narcissistic personality disorder. That's a diagnosis, which is not that common. However, the traits of a person, there are many people out there that don't meet the full criteria, and they have these behaviors. They behave as a narcissist. They are very, their self-interest. Everything is motivated by self-interest. It's all about them. It's all about what they want. The conversation always turns around goes back to them. That part is fairly common, and the difference in that person that has that healthy self-esteem, that is pretty self-confident, is that they do still empathize with other people. They do still care about other people. They will still let someone else get the attention and validation as well. Not so with the narcissist.
So a narcissist doesn't share the stage?
Not at all.
Okay. All right. And so, and just because a person isn't in that, doesn't have the technical or the diagnosis of narcissistic, what was it? Narcissistic
personality disorder.
So just because you don't have that diagnosis doesn't mean that you may not have traits. So the abuse and the people who have that are victimized by that, they might still have that experience that abuse, even if the person they're interacting with isn't a full-blown narcissist.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And so what is the treatment for someone who is a survivor of this? How do they get better?
Well, the first thing is for the person to start developing a sense of who they are.
Okay.
Learn how to, first of all, identify it. Identify that this is narcissistic abuse. This isn't just someone that is disrespecting you, that the person is discounting who you are, what you want. It's not a mutual relationship. To really identify that the abuse is there. And the other thing is for the persons to develop boundaries, to learn to say no, to learn what you like, what you don't like, where you want to go, what would living look like for you, and be able to enforce that. So to develop a voice, to be able to speak up and live and truly live and love your life and begin to love who you see in the mirror.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And I know that you have a specialized technique called EMDR. Can you tell us what that stands for and how does that help in this instance?
Yes, that stands for eye movement desensitization. Eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR. And what that means is that's a strategy that we as therapists, some of us that are trained in it, use to treat trauma. We use it to treat PTSD primarily. We use it to treat anxiety. So the fear and the anxiety that a person might experience after being traumatized because narcissism causes trauma in most people living like this day in and day out. It causes trauma. So sometimes the fear in speaking up, the fear in setting boundaries, the fear of enforcing boundaries, or the fear to leave, the anxiety around it, or to make that move to put self first and begin living a fulfilling life. Sometimes we have to do EMDR to desensitize the person from this. Sometimes it's an imagined fear that they can't make it, for example.
I hear that. And I know that when you and I have worked together and you have referred clients over to me, a lot of times under your guidance, the thing that I work on with them using hypnosis is to really help them rebuild that self-esteem so that they have the confidence to have an opinion, to have a like that they like tea versus coffee, because sometimes that, even something like that, they may not even know that about themselves.
Exactly.
Or where they like to go vacation. And I know in conversations we've had, sometimes a narcissistic abuse survivor doesn't even know what they want to do in their life in terms of work, in terms of not just play, but all of this other stuff. So that's how I've helped when we've worked together with people. And I've also helped a lot with using hypnosis, not only with that finding who they really are, helping them feel safe enough to ask those questions about themselves and increase their self-esteem and self-confidence. But ultimately figure out what it means to really love and have self-love and have those boundaries and put those boundaries up without it being a wall. And at the same time, having a voice, being able, knowing that it's safe to have a voice, knowing what that voice is, and then using it. Yes. So it's been really effective for us when we work together.
So I'll work with them at the conscious level, and Claudia will work with them at the unconscious level.
Yes. And it's worked really, really well. We have if you're interested in working with us and you identify with any of the things that we've talked about, we have a workshop that's coming up. And I will leave that information in the details of this post. And you can definitely check us out and sign up for the workshop. Contact us for that. Or if you're interested in working with us individually, I'll also have that contact information below. So thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.